So, confession time. By a show of hands, how many of you have the propensity to lose your keys? Anybody? Anybody? Yeah, right? How about this one? You go into the store, you walk out 9 minutes later, and you forget where you parked. That's like, I can't even remember 9 minutes ago. Or how about this classic one? Where's my glasses? Where's my glasses? They're on your head, like, right? It's like, man, or your wallet or anything, right? All of us know this pain of losing something important. When I had to have been about 10 years old because my sister was 2. We were outside. We were being babysat, the 3 of us. My little sister wasn't even born yet, but we were being babysat. The babysitter turns to tie my brother's shoes, and when she turns around, my 2-year-old sister's gone. Yeah, it was really crazy. It got so long that my parents had to come home. There was a few police cars there, a couple fire trucks. And besides the obvious concerns of a 2-year-old being gone, a couple main ones were our street paralleled to a main street. Okay, and then there was some construction fairly close, and the only things they had done on the house was pouring the concrete. So it would have been we're talking about the basement, not just pouring a foundation. I know we don't know what basements are in California, but it's a thing in other parts of the country where you have basements. And so it was there was some deep pit concern, if that makes sense, for a 2-year-old. So it was very open and dangerous. About an hour to an hour and a half go by. It's not like 1 to 1.5 minutes. An hour and a half go by, and it's starting to head towards dark. And my mom's friend just happened to say, this was the safer street. This was our neighborhood street, and then again, the main one. She was like, do you think she might have crossed over the neighborhood street? And so they started looking in people's backyards. And like I said, an hour and a half in, my mom finds my 2-year-old sister under a tree, and she's having a good old time. She's singing, "Mommy, Mommy, Mommy." And you could imagine the relief and happiness when my mom found her. You know, the thing is, when the value goes up, we look harder and get more desperate. You know, if the babysitter would have lost $1, right? Not a 2-year-old, and it wasn't even her fault, obviously. But if she would have lost $1, you wouldn't have a few fire trucks and police. Ma'am, when's the last time you saw that $1? We are going to get it. Don't you worry. Your $1 is safe with us, right? We wouldn't do that. But as the value goes up, we look harder and get more desperate. And speaking of this thought process, Jesus is with people and about to share a few stories of people losing something valuable to them. But before we look at one of those stories, like we have during this series, let's look at a part of the Lord's Prayer again. In Matthew 6, it says this. This then is how you should pray. Again, Jesus is not trying to give us exact words. He's trying to give us principles so that we know how to be confident in connecting with God, talking to God. So let's get into it. Our Father in heaven, hallowed be your name, your kingdom come. As we've been talking about in this series, God is our dad in heaven. And because of that, his kingdom isn't of this world, and its values often look different than the world's. So to share about his kingdom values, Jesus shares a story about a son who asked for his inheritance early. Now, in that culture, I don't know what culture you're from or your lineage, but in that culture, this request would have been a huge disrespect and disregard for his dad's authority. But the dad gave him his inheritance. The son takes it, and he actually leaves the country. He's like, I don't want to have anything to do with you anymore. I am leaving the country. Thank you for what you've done. Goodbye. He ends up wasting all his wealth. Parents in the room, I want you to, or anybody, because it doesn't have to be, father to kid or parent to kid. Imagine spending years building wealth for your family only to find out that one person wastes their portion. You scrape, you sacrifice, you make good decisions year in, year out, only to have one person waste their portion. And not on accident, not like I got into a car accident, we didn't have insurance, it was out of rebellion. Because the son has nothing left, he gets really desperate. So he gets a job feeding pigs. And again, cultural context, in that culture, pigs were considered unclean. So taking this job would have been a huge shame and embarrassment for him, okay? And he gets so hungry, this is kind of disgusting, but he gets so hungry, what the pigs eat looks good to him. Now, someone told me after first service, because they used to have pigs on their farm, that sometimes when they would feed their pigs, before the pigs would eat it, they'd roll in the food. So you're getting a picture of how desperate and hungry he is to be looking at a pig's mouth, eating the food, and possibly rolling in it. And he's like, that looks good to me. A person in this culture eating food touched by pigs, again, cultural context, it would have been disgraceful. It actually would have been beyond disgraceful. And he because of this desperation, in this moment, he kind of finally comes to his senses and realizes his dad's employees are taken care of and are not starving. So he has this thought, okay, I'll go back and I'll confess. Dad, I'm so sorry for what I've done, but I realize I'm not worthy to be a son anymore. So I'll ask my dad to hire me. Because maybe while I won't get the benefits of being a son, I'll at least be taken care of as his employee, because he knew how loving his dad was. As he returns home, this is just something I wonder. It's not in the Bible. It's not in Jesus' story. I wonder if he questioned if his dad would take him back. Think about it. He already admitted to himself, I'm not worthy enough to be his son anymore. What is he going to do when I found out that out of rebellion, I disrespectfully wasted everything that he earned hard for to give me? And I wasted it just on wild living. Will he even take me back as an employee? I literally wasted his whole inheritance, his life, his time, his money. I wasted it. Something my dad worked really hard for. I just wonder if was going through his head, because I think that's often what goes through our head and hearts. But listen in to the next part of Jesus' story to see what happens. Luke 15. But while he was still a long way off, his father saw him and was filled with anger, frustration. Say it for me. I can't pronounce it right. Compassion. Compassion. He was filled with compassion for him. So he ran away from him. He ran to his son, threw his arms around him, and kissed him. The son said to him, Dad, I've sinned against heaven and against you. I'm no longer worthy to be called your son. Notice what he said. I mentioned this earlier. He was thinking, I'm no longer worthy. This is how the son felt. But the dad was having none of it. He had compassion and ran to his son. On top of that, he gave him the best clothes and celebrated with a feast. He didn't go to him like, man, it's so cool to see you. Okay, you're going to start living in the outhouse, have some poor clothes. He gives them the best clothes, and they celebrate with a feast. The son carried shame to the point where he felt he couldn't even be a son anymore. How great it must have felt for the son to see love, grace, and forgiveness on the face of his dad. instead of anger, bitterness, and disgust. Now, let's make this personal. Everyone carries shame. All of us. Either from something that we're embarrassed about, either from what we've done or what's been done to us. And since no one's perfect, it's typically a combination of both. And because we have shame and embarrassment, we may wonder if God will look at us the way we feel about ourselves, or the fear we have that how others will look at us if they knew what we went through and the struggles that we had. We accidentally can project on God how we're feeling about ourselves, or the fear that we have of how others will look at us. We're like, God knows everything. He knows things about me that I don't even know, including my weaknesses, including the things I'm embarrassed about. I doubt he sees me too highly. Or I tried to finally muster up the courage to share one of my shames and embarrassment with someone else. They don't treat me the same and they don't look at me the same. God knows all of my embarrassments and shame. How will he look at me? You know, even though we don't always have a good view of ourselves, or we worry about what others think, this is so important. This story shows that he looks at us with love, grace, and compassion, not with disgust. In fact, if you would join me in this, you don't have to do this if you don't want. And I want to say from the beginning, this is not to bring guilt to your heart in this moment. It's not to even bring shame to your heart in this moment. But it's just to bring awareness to something that might tempt you to think, is this how God's going to look at me? I want you to think of a shame or embarrassment that you have. Again, not for I want you discouraged or feeling guilty. It's just, man, something in my past. I'm just so, it can be so embarrassing. Something that happened 15 years ago can feel like it happened 15 seconds ago. Or, man, if people, I'm so embarrassed what I struggle with in my thought life, if people only knew. Or even think of one fear you have of if someone else found that out. Again, I'm not bringing any of this up to discourage. But I want you to look up here. What you may feel, the pain of what you may feel, the fear and the pain that you have of what others may see you as, that's not your heavenly dad. It's not how he looks at us. The pain that all of us have, me included, or the fear, if someone finds out, it's not how our dad looks at us. He looks at us with grace, love, and compassion, not with disgust. So the question is, whose face are you looking at? Yours? Staring at the mirror, always regretting the past, or others, like, what are they going to think? Or his? This is why it's so important to connect with God, so you can focus on his view. Not just hear about God or know about God or hear about a prayer that Jesus says this then is how we should pray. This is why it's so important to connect with God, so you can focus on his view instead of focusing on how you feel about yourself or how others may look at you. Because look what it says in Proverbs 29. Fear of man will prove to be a snare, but whoever trusts in the Lord is kept safe. Safe. Focusing on how you feel about yourself, not always, can sometimes be a trap. Wondering what others think of you can sometimes be a trap. But when we look at his face, filled with grace and compassion, we find safety. Guys, your eyes can only look one way. Now, there might be one of you like, Pastor, I found this way to have one eye go this way and the other eye. Good, go to America's Got Talent. We'll see you next year on America's Got Talent. We'll all root you on. The eyeball person, yeah, from Obi-Wan. But most of us, try it. Try it right now. Try to have your eyes look in different directions. We can't do it. Your eyes can only look one way. So the question is, whose face are you looking at? Yours, others, or his? Now, this is a series where it's not just about knowing about God, it's connecting with God. So right in the middle of the message here, don't get too eager. Like, yay, it's already over. No, we still have half a message left, okay? Stick with me. But I wanted us to connect with God. Connect with his face. Connect with his love, grace, and compassion. Pastor Steve and the worship team, they're going to sing a song that was made popular because of Luke 15, Reckless Love. And I just want you to take a couple minutes to connect with God. Do whatever you want. You can stand if that's best. You can sit at your seat, close your eyes. Just connect with God as they sing this song, and then I'll come back for the second part of the message. Thank you, worship team. Really, really appreciate that you did that for us. You remember earlier, we talked about value. His kingdom values people. And aren't you glad for that? Because it means God values you. Think about that. It means God values you. He doesn't devalue you because of your past mistakes or your current struggles or how you see yourself. He values you. Now, the reason there's a second part of the message here is there's another person in Jesus' story. It's an older brother of the son that left. He found out what happened. Let's just say his reaction was a lot different than his dad's. He was angry and refused to celebrate. He said 3 words that typically cancels out grace, and you're going to help me with this. This isn't. It's what he says to his dad. You ever said that? How many of you said that when you were younger to your parents? This isn't. How many of you are parents now and had it said to you? See, we do reap what we sow. I'm just having fun. This isn't fair. Some of you might want to write that down. This isn't fair, not always, but can cancel out grace. And he says, this isn't fair, Dad. I've been following you for years, and I've never been given anything to celebrate with friends. But when this son of yours, how many of you done that? Your parents and, it's your kid too, but you tell your spouse, your kid's acting up. Take care of him right now, right? This is where the brother's at. He can't even say it's his brother. That's how angry he is. But when this son of yours, Dad, I've got nothing, but your son disrespects you and then rebelliously wastes his portion of the inheritance, and you throw him a party. Yay. This isn't. And you give him the best. This isn't. See, one reason it's important for us to connect with God is to focus on the face of our heavenly Dad, one who has compassion and love for us. Another reason connection with God matters is so that we reflect the heart of God instead of reflecting the heart of the older brother. Having love, grace, and compassion for others instead of anger, disgust, and bitterness. Guys, if we're being transparent, this is all of us. All of us have an older brother heart that we need God's help overcoming, where we need his heart of compassion to replace our heart of bitterness. See, it's easy to look at the brother and think, I know you disagreed with what he did, but bro, your brother returned. You're not happy? It's so easy to look at the older brother and think that, but if we're not careful, we can do the same. Let me give some examples. I'll start with a hot button one. Someone that has a different political party than we do. And it starts with frustration. I can't believe they think that way. Because my party's God's party. My party's God's party. I can't believe they think that way. It starts with like shock or maybe frustration, and if we don't let God deal with that, it turns into disgust and bitterness. Pastor Julian's talked about this before, right? Like he's talked about how he's seen families divide and disgusted and bitter to each other because of politics. Or take another one. Someone's current choices or lifestyle. I can't believe they do that. God tells us not to. And that might be even true. But that shock and that frustration, if we don't let God deal with that, disgust and bitterness instead of compassion. Or, oh my gosh, I can't believe that that's in their past. That's in their past. That's bad. That's disgusting. And if we're not careful, that frustration separates us. And instead of God dealing with our hearts, and God, please help me because these things are starting to get to me. I need your heart of compassion. And it doesn't mean we're saying everything over there is right. It's not the point. The lost son wasn't right when he got love, grace, and compassion. He wasn't right. We went over that already. He wasn't right in what he did to his dad, to his brother, to his inheritance. He wasn't right. Or like, man, I can't believe they struggle with that. That's terrible. And if we don't allow God to help us and give us that heart of compassion, the dividing starts. Or this one, when someone wrongs you. Now, again, we say this often at OB1. It doesn't mean there shouldn't be boundaries. It doesn't mean that there doesn't need to be some things dealt with. That's not what I mean by this. But if we're not careful, I'm so disgusted at what they did to me. Right? That's where the older brother was at. They did this to our family, Dad. They did this to our family. How can you let this happen? See, sometimes we use God's standards as a way to justify bitterness. You believe that politically? What I believe is God's party. How could you? God tells us not to do that. Why are you doing that, Cameron? No, just kidding. The focus. It's like, whoa, you're right there. Why'd you do that? God tells us not to. And we justify anger, frustration, bitterness, and disgust because of the standards of God. But I'm here to tell you, and you need to hear this, if this is the only thing you hear, please remember, somehow Jesus was able to take God's standards seriously, but still have compassion for those who broke them. I'm going to say that again, because I really want it to get into our spirits. Jesus somehow was able to take God's standards seriously. He didn't sweep things under the rug, but was still able to have compassion for those who broke them. And thank God for that. It's like we forget where we came from or what we still struggle with. Because when we walk the forgiveness road to Him, wondering, is this going to be the time? I've dealt with this for 9 years in my life. Is this going to be the time that God finally says, I'm done? I'm done. I'm disgusted. Enough. What we end up finding, even on that 9th year, is a face that meets us with love, compassion, and grace. Listen in as the dad shares his heart. He's just trying to share his heart with the older brother. In Luke 15, it says this, "My son," the father said, "you are always with me, and everything I have is yours." But we had to celebrate and be glad because this brother of yours was dead and is alive again. He was lost and is found. See, by connecting with his dad, he heard his dad's heart for his brother. And you notice what the father said. He says, "Your brother." Remember earlier, the brother, he was so angry that he couldn't even acknowledge that he was his brother. He said, "Your son." It's almost as if his dad was reminding him, I know you're angry at him. You may even have a right to be. But remember, he's your brother. He's your family. Have compassion for him. Our Heavenly Dad wants to remind us too. I know you're angry. You may even have a right to be. This isn't fair. But don't let your anger cloud your heart. This other person that you're angry at, this is someone I love. They have a soul that I've died for. Have compassion for them. It doesn't mean you have to think that what they did is right. Because remember, Jesus, I said it before, took the standards seriously, but still had compassion on who broke them. And that affected him. It wasn't just like, well, yeah, whatever. He went to the cross because of that. That affected him. He wasn't just some innocent bystander. Well, yeah, I guess you kind of broke God's laws. Because we broke God's laws, because all of us did, he went to the cross. It affected him, what he had to do because of people that broke God's standards. So he took it very seriously, but still had compassion for those who broke them. This is someone I love. They have a soul I've died for. So as we connect with him, God can. I'm not saying it's going to happen overnight, but maybe there's a seed that will start today where he can start to give us compassion for others. And so one more question as we start to land the plane. And again, same thing. This is not for guilt or shame, or it's just to bring awareness so that we can take it before God. Okay, that's all it is, so that we can connect with God and say, God, I need compassion. What's a person or people group you need His compassion for? What's a person? Again, no, this is not discouraged, to get discouraged right now. It's just bringing awareness so you can connect with God about it in a moment. What's a person or a people group you need His compassion for? As we've shared in this series, Jesus is coming back, and He's bringing a physical kingdom with Him. But until then, He wants us to give us a heart that reflects His kingdom so others can experience His compassion through us. God, these aren't just words. I know you say the Lord's Prayer, Jesus, and we just rattle it off. No, these aren't just words, God. God, your kingdom come in me. Your kingdom come in me. God with us, God through us. Say that with me. God with us and God through us. Repetition's good. God with us and God through us. So with this in mind, let's get personal. Who's someone you care about who needs Jesus and is far from God? It can be one person, it could be several people. Maybe they're coming to your mind because God wants you to pray for them. And you don't have to do this, but we're asking you to consider to take the summer to pray for someone who's far from God, someone you care about who needs Jesus and their life changed by an encounter with the Holy Spirit. And like I said, it could be more than one person. OB1 also cares about your someone who's far from God. So your pastors want to pray for your someone as we want to partner with you as you pray for your someone, because we know that you care about them, or you're going to ask God for compassion to get that care back. And so probably all of you have saw it already. There's a Summer of Someone prayer wall back there. And while we sing this last song in a moment, you can go back there and write names on there. You can put initials if you don't want to put, if like just in case they come and you're like, why am I on this wall? You can just put initials. You can put their first name. You can put their last name. You can say my brother. You can put my sister, my coworker, whatever you feel. And again, you don't have to, but we'd love for you to. Because if you put your name, a name on the wall, your pastors will pray for that name this summer, or the several names this summer. And this as well, if you'd like us to personally pray with you for your someone who needs Jesus, don't hesitate to ask one of us. We would love, love, love to pray with you for your someone. And just to give a little encouragement story. We had someone one year write a family member's name on the prayer wall, and then Summer of Someone ended and they didn't come to Christ. Failure? Not in God's economy. Several months later, that person who was on the prayer wall gave their heart to Christ. And I'm not trying to pretend that every story ends that way. I'm just trying to encourage you that God hears our prayers. He really does, because this is the heart of God. People. This is the kingdom value. People. So we're going to sing Reckless Love again, but this time I'm going to ask you, and if you still need to have it be the focus on you, there's nothing wrong or selfish about that. Just you do that. But for some of you, I want you to turn. And when you sing this song, you're going to start thinking about your someone that needs Jesus. Because guess what? He loves them too. And he has a reckless love and grace and compassion for them too. So as we sing the song, you can do whatever you want again. You can stand. You can sit there. But as we're singing the song, if a name comes to your mind, go back to there. Write the name down. You can take a bracelet to remind you that, I need to pray for my person. So when you see it, you can pray for them. And you can take a bracelet if you'd like. There's stickers, if stickers would remind you. But worship team, let's sing this song together. And guys, you can start heading over there as you feel led. And then come back to your seats. We're going to pray over the someones.